Okay, so we're going to do blog like a pro. This includes all kind of content writing though. So the reason I say about blog like a pro is because the biggest way that you can help yourself organically online is to blog and to write content. So it doesn't matter blogging, social media, writing posts for Google My Business, all those kind of things. The more you can do it, the more traction you'll get with Google. Because if you always, just as a quick intro to that, if you always look at Google as like the librarian, and somebody goes in and asks Google for a book on your topic, and Google goes to look on the shelf, and your competitors have a shelf load of books that look like this, but your shelf only looks like this, then he's going to pick that shelf first before he comes to you. So you want your shelf to look like that, and to keep adding content regularly and refreshing it. Think how many times you walk past a shop window and they don't change the clothes that are in the window or the jewelry or whatever it may be. I had this once in a shopping centre where I actually worked with a post office to change their shop window. We didn't change a single product. We just moved it around and merchandised it a bit. They sold the main expensive piece later that afternoon, and it hadn't sold for months. So it just shows you the power of moving things around and how just simply refreshing things. You could try this at home. I've often done it when you move furniture or things. People come in and go, oh, you got new furniture? Nope, just moved it. That's all. So we're going to talk about Learn to Blog Like a Pro. We're going to that's a little bit about me for those of you that haven't met me before. I'm Sarah. I've worked in marketing for over 25 years. I have worked in a variety of industries, both here and in the UK. I have my own digital agency that I help small businesses with website design and social media and content writing and so on. And then I have also worked in shopping centres and have also worked in agencies as well. So I've got some really good all-round experience. So if you want to ask me questions at any point, feel free. It doesn't have to be on topic. We can try and answer off topic too. That's fine with me. So this is what we're going to cover. And as I said, I like to work in a way that if you've got any questions, just either chuck them in the chat box and I'll try and do my best to keep up with it. Or if you want to put your hand up and just chat, then that's great too, because I think we can share ideas, and we are going to chat. So if that's okay with you guys, we'll encourage a bit of conversation a bit later on. We're going to learn the basics to creating successful blogs, and we're going to look at topic ideas, catchy headlines, meta descriptions, the kind of content, the amount of content that you should use, how to optimize your content, what happens if you get writer's block, which we all do, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about repurposing content too, and images and videos, what is included in content. They say that clever, engaging content leaves a really good impression. So if you can learn to tell a story with your content all the time and using keyword phrases and things like that, you should get better traction. If you see content as talking to your customers through Google, you shouldn't go too far wrong. And I've seen people that have actually sat in this session or in the other one on content writing and have actually then come back to me in another session and said, wow, my Google My Business profile, just by creating some posts on there, I actually jumped a couple of positions in Google. Anything you do in the content space with Google and anybody like that, it's not a quick fix. It's a bit like your superannuation. You don't see it, you pay into it all the time, and then eventually you know that it's going to work for you one day. That's exactly the same with SEO content writing. You know you need to keep doing it. You've got to keep adding books to your shelf, which is your content. You've got to keep doing it, but you might not see initial results. So just bear with it, because you will get the results eventually. So, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat today. What is a blog? Well, simply put, it's a tool that can help develop an online presence. It attracts leads and engages with your particular audience. It can be centered around a central topic. So, for example, the 11 best appetizers to serve to a crowd, or a stress-free dinner, or recipes that are prepared ahead of time. and they can help divert traffic to your website. So ultimately, you grow your business, so you can turn them into leads, establish authority in your industry, and ultimately grow your leads. So grow your business. So in fact, organizations, they say that use blogs are 13 times more likely to see a positive return on investment by prioritizing the content that they write. So if you can encourage yourself to write on a regular basis, and it is tough at first, and you do have to work out what you're doing, and you will get used to it. And if you're not good at writing content, then find somebody that is. My only tip on that is that make sure they understand the big picture of your business. So I was talking to a business the other day, and they were using their web developer to put their content on blogs. Probably not the best idea, because who says the web developer is any good at writing content? So he might know about blogs and how blogs work, but he won't necessarily be a content writer. So if you're going to do that, then find somebody that writes regularly for lots of different organizations, because you want them to understand your business, but you want them to understand ultimately what they're trying to achieve, which is to attract Google to read your blogs. Now, when you put your blogs on your website, you may have that little tab at the top in your menu that says blogs, and people can click on those links and read your blogs, but that's not your ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal is to get your blog content coming up in searches. So it's an extra tool to add content to your arsenal, so that when people are searching, if you haven't got it included on your main website, your blogs would appear instead. When you're blogging, bear that in mind, because when you're writing your content, imagine that it could be taken out of context. So it could be searched for and appear somewhere else. So always try and include links back to your website in any blog that you do, so that you've got it to main pages on your website. So it could be a home page, it might be something specific to that blog where the blog's located, it could be to a sales page, but always put a call to action and a couple of links. And by that, what I mean is, if we were writing a recipe now and I started to mention the word tagine, say, and I'm talking about a chicken tagine, and I've got the word tagine in there, I would possibly link to a page on my website that talks about what a tagine is, or I might link to another page that sells tagines. But you basically want to include links so they go across to your main website pages. And I tend to try and include a link back to my website wherever possible, in case it gets taken out of context. Okay, so top tips for beginners. Most of blogs traffic is driven organically. Consumers will search for something in a search engine and drop and click on your blog if it matches their intended topic. So make sure that your posts align with your company goals. The reason you're blogging is to solve problems. So everything you do in marketing is about solving people's problems. Always remember that. If I was bald, I don't need a comb. So you wouldn't solve a problem for me. I've got curly hair, I can't have a comb either. So, you wouldn't solve my problem either. In fact, you'd make my problem worse. So you're solving people's problems. You need to find what their pain points are, and then you sell to them. And you always sell with the emotional benefits of a product, never with the features of it. So think toothpaste. Toothpaste never sells a tube of white stuff. It's always fresh breath, clean teeth, etc. You're selling the benefits of what it's going to do for you. So always look at those two things. What am I solving, and what are the benefits of how I'm going to solve that? So what you're doing when you're blogging is basically you're looking at the problems you're going to solve for your audience, and you ultimately want to grow your business. So blog posts should be industry relevant, address specific questions, you want to talk about concerns. So we're going to come up with some topics, and we'll have a look at that as we go through. Identify what resonates with your audience. So if you want your blog content to perform well, i.e. generate traffic, leads, etc., it must resonate with your audience and compel them to take action. So one of the biggest mistakes is assuming that your content will perform if you haven't actually considered your audience. And the audience, perhaps the kind of actions you want them to take. So the solution is that you need to understand your buyer persona's pain points, and then you're going to solve them, as I said. So we're going to look at buyer personas next. Always write like you talk. Keep it interesting. Compel them to keep reading by writing in a style that's effortless to read. And I think they say over 60%, I've got the stat written down, I think it's 60% of readers don't get past the headline. So they'll see it. So if your headline's not catchy enough and doesn't compel you to read the rest of it, they're not going to read your article. Solution. So try to write blogs that feel personable. It's okay to be more conversational in your writing style when you're doing blogs. The more approachable your writing is, the more people will enjoy reading it. So people want to feel like they're doing business with real people. They don't want robots. Get rid of the jargon. You can have a laugh, make a pun or two, be controversial sometimes. They want to feel like they're talking to the real you and that you're showing your personality. People care about what you teach them, so always write in the first person as if you were chatting to them. Most people like to crack a joke or two occasionally, but just keep it, obviously in line with your business. If you're in a serious world of something medical, then cracking a joke might not work for you, but it might lighten the mood as well. So that's entirely up to you how you do that, but I'm just saying that it does help. Make your tone personal, approachable, engaging, just as if you were talking to someone face to face. So I always sort of try and write as if I'm talking to, my friend, and explaining to them. Don't use too much jargon. Always talk as if you're talking to an alien that's come from another planet. They understand English, but they don't really understand your product or what it does. So you've got to explain it to them, because that's what you're doing to Google. You're trying to explain your product, but he's an alien, but he speaks the language, but you've got to really make it obvious what it is. So stress your point, don't digress into personal anecdotes, don't use analogies too much. Your readers aren't sitting in front of you, which means they can't guarantee that you have their undivided attention. And if you can, they will bounce from your article if they lose patience. So, kind of keep it interesting with putting some images and things in there. You might want to repeatedly assert your argument. So to prevent your writing from losing its audience, reinstate your point a few times in the article. The best blog posts commit to an overarching message and then deliver it gradually. So expressing it multiple times in small ways from beginning to end will probably help. You want to start with a very specific working title and tie into the bigger picture. So to get the most benefits out of blogging, you'll need to get specific. You already know how important it is to resonate with your buyer persona, and understanding their pain points is the reason why, why they've got issues, what their pain points are, what's driving them to get it solved. Understand all of that. Have a look into it, investigate that. So understand the challenges, the consequences they're facing. You should be asking yourself, what's at stake for them? What do they gain by taking action? What are they afraid of happening if they don't take action? All those kind of things. Then you want to create an outline and use headers. And we're going to go through all of this in detail, so don't panic too much. I'm going to show you a lot more screen slots there. So if I tell you we're on 5 of 34, so we will we'll show all of this in detail, and I'll show you where you can get some top tips for this. I'm just kind of giving you an overview at this stage, but you want to create an outline and use headers to write the blog. First, come up with a list of the top takeouts that you want your readers to get from the post, and then break up those takeaways into larger section headers. And then you can put in a section header for every few paragraphs, and your blog becomes much easier and more enjoyable to read. Header text with keywords is good for search engine optimization, and I'm going to show you a free tool for getting your keywords in. And you probably want to include your keyword phrase in the first paragraph too. So you want to include your keywords in your header, your first paragraph, and then somewhere throughout your text, but don't overstuff keywords in. That's not good either. Give your audience something useful. So people want to actually achieve something, not just in theory. So that you did help them achieve what did they achieve, and use examples to back up what you're saying, why it's important, etc. A bit like me doing this presentation. Use ways that you can show that it actually works. Don't plagiarize. There are tools out there that can help you with that. Always proofread for errors. Maybe get someone else in the office to read it for you, make sure it makes sense. Keep it consistent. Blog consistently with the help of an editorial calendar, and perhaps add call to action buttons. Use your email marketing tool to set up a welcome email for new subscribers and subscription and call to actions and all that kind of thing, so that when you're blogging, I'm going to show you how to repurpose, but you can write your blog and then you can repurpose it in other areas too. Okay, so I said you need to understand who you're speaking to. So I think this analogy kind of says it all. If you're talking to a cat, it's very different to how you treat the dog. The dog will love you no matter what you do, as long as you take them out and you feed them regularly. They're man's best friend. A cat, on the other hand, totally independent. You're at their beck and call, and very finicky. What they eat, they might like it one day, possibly not the next. So I always look at it as dogs and cats. Make sure that you're talking to your correct audience. So if you're talking to cats more than you are dogs, understand everything it is you need to know about that person. What are they like? How do you look after them? How do you get their pain points to go away? That kind of thing. No, you kind of want to get them to know them like an old friend. So as I said, you know, understand their best possible outcome and their dreams that they're trying to achieve, maybe their biggest fantasies. Always remember that I know I've used a dog and a cat as an analogy, but always remember that you are marketing to humans and they want to feel connected to you. Ideally, you'd be able to speak directly to every individual, but you can't do that. So the solution that we do is we create a buyer persona. So let's have a look at a buyer persona. Okay, this is what you do with a buyer persona. You want to ask these kind of questions. So you can start with an image, and I've got a couple of examples coming up as well. And if anybody wants me to send this through to you, I can. So we're looking at first, we've got a buyer persona for John and one for Sarah. So buyer personas, you're going to ask these kind of questions. You know, you want to know their personal information, you know, who are they, their age, their gender, their marital status, because you want to paint a picture of the typical day in the life of this person. Now, if I give you an example, if I was an insurance broker, I might have 3 personas. And the way you want to choose this is your ideal customer. If I said to you, there's $10, go into the room next door, there's 100 people in there, but you can only spend your $10 on 2 or 3 of them that you know are likely to spend that money back with you and some. Who are you going to put your money on? Now, if I was an insurance broker and I walked into the room and I saw a tradie, a mum, and a hairdresser in the room, like a small business owner, they would be the 3 I'd pick, because the family are going to want to insure their home, their cars, their holidays, their contents, etc. The tradie is going to want to insure his van, his tools, his workmanship. And the small business owner is going to want to insure their professional indemnity in case they say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. They might want public liability insurance in case people trip over, there's a slip, trip, fall, you spill something on them, you don't do the correct job of whatever you were going to do. So they would be my main personas. The reason you want to paint a picture of each of those businesses is because the tradie, where the tradie can be found, how you reach the tradie is completely different to how and where you reach the family. And the same goes for the small business owner. So by drawing this picture up of each of these and putting that person in the middle, you are looking at their career paths, what do they typically do in a typical day, you know, from getting up to going to bed. So take the tradie, gets up, has breakfast, probably has a shower, gets breakfast, jumps in his van, and then he might go off to the wholesaler first. So could the wholesaler be an opportunity for you to reach him at that point? Or is it before then, when he got in the van, did he turn the radio on? So could you consider radio advertising? That's what you're trying to get to by painting the picture of everywhere they are throughout the day, from the minute they get up to what they have for lunch, to where they go for lunch, to where they go for dinner, to what they might do in the evening. You paint a picture. Do they have a family? Is that your ideal tradie? In which case, he's probably going to take his kids to nippers on the weekend. So you might reach the tradie there. So it's that whole picture. You see what I'm trying to get at? So this is how you do it. And you put together all of these things, their values, their fears, where are they, their negative information, goals and challenges, all those kind of things. And you do it with something that looks like this. So this is one for Sarah. So background, she's looking for guidance. So Sarah has some experience with life insurance, but she doesn't really feel comfortable making a purchase decision on her own. She's looking for an expert who could guide her through the process. She'd like to have someone she could trust and call personally anytime she has questions. So that is something that an insurance broker has written, is that's their ideal customer. We've got her motivations, her pain points, so how you would, the strategy, what you can do to help her, and that's what you want to paint a picture of. Then you want to get, this is John. So John works in a hospital. He's a systems administrator. He's demographics, married with children, suburban. So systems admin John, his goals: increase productivity, reduce support calls, support corporate initiatives, challenges, finding the best solution at the right cost. How could we help him as a business? That's what you want to get to. How do we help this person? What are some of their common objections? Worried end users won't be able to probably use the new software, nervous on how to deploy, it can be too expensive. Another one I've written is written in a story. So I wrote one once that for a shopping centre that was based on a Nicole. So she was married, she had 2 children. I even named her. So I name all of them. And I'm talking to Nicole. So shopping centres, you can imagine, you have a lot of people that go through a shopping centre. But my ideal customer, I had 2. It was a Nicole and Andrea. And Andrea was much older. Nicole was in her mid to late 30s. So Nicole had 2 children under the age of 10. She'd get up, she'd take the kids to school. So she'd be listening to the radio. She would then drop the kids off at school. She'd go on to her place of work where she worked part-time. She would then pick the kids up from school. She'd take them to the library. She'd come into the centre to pick up some groceries on the way home. She would, on the weekend, she would take the kids to Nippers and to their, the little boy would go to soccer, the little girl will go to dance. And you're painting this picture because then you can say, well, what kind of social media did, well, I know because she's in her late 30s that she's likely to listen to, she's probably on Facebook and Instagram, but Facebook first because of her demographic. She's going to be listening to the radio, so I know that for a fact. So I've checked into the radio stations and which one best appeals to her. I've looked at, does she look at direct mail? So could I reach her through targeting her through a direct mail campaign that's put through her letterbox? Does she open emails? Emails are still really positive as long as you understand your audience and where to get them. And don't forget, an email, they've actually opted in to get your information, so that's really handy too. So you get the idea. I'm painting a picture. There are lots of other ways. If I can show you this is another example. So I've got this is a health food store, this is a facilities manager. It doesn't matter, this is a coffee shop persona. It doesn't matter how you write them. It's the main point is you're getting to is how can I help that person? That's the thing you want to ask. So what are their goals and challenges? And how am I going to help them? That's the things you write down. Okay, so if moving on, if we now have a look, why don't you have a go and just putting down some tips as to what you think, who your 1, 2 or 3 buyer personas would be. You don't want too many because you don't want to spread yourself too thin. But if you do have 3, like the case of the insurance broker, then you might want to have that. If you are, okay, another example I have is with a mortgage broker. So you would think that their clients would be the people taking out the mortgage, their ideal customers. They are, but when you're talking to them, actually you probably are also talking to the parents of them, because the parents want to make sure that their kids are getting the best deal, and they're signed up because it's a very massive part of their life. So you might actually have an audience that's the parents of mortgage brokers too. So you need to kind of think of that outside that box. I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes and we'll just have a look at that. If anybody wants to ask me any questions while you're having a look at that, we'll go, and then next we'll have a look at writing an actual blog. Does anybody have any questions so far? No. Okay, So what we'll do, oh yes, Pat, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just pressing unmute. This is actually the bit that I always fall down on. Like, I actually have no idea how to come up with that personality. Like, there's something wrong with my brain that doesn't, like, I go, I don't know. I have no idea how to do this bit.
What business are you in?
Okay, I'm an artist. Basically, I'm an artist who's just trying to both market my art freelance, and also I'm just starting out doing some beginners art classes.
Yes.
So I've got two sides of the business, and it's like, yeah. And so the clients would be quite different, I would imagine, for each side. So
yes. So starting with your art classes, I would say that you probably have an older demographic, maybe 30, 40, 50, maybe even 60-year-olds, you know, so that, yeah. But they want to go back and do it as a hobby. So you want to appeal to that out of work kind of creativity, relaxations kind of vibe. So that might be one. And they can be.
The other thought I was sort of wondering about were like the women who go to like the paint and sip nights.
Yes.
Who've enjoyed it and want to take it further but don't know what to do. Like,
yes. Where are you based, Kat? Where did you say you were based?
I'm in Toowoomba, which is
Toowoomba. Okay. Yeah. So it depends how you're going to do it. Yes, if there are many art classes in Toowoomba that do paint and sip, and then you could actually go along and sort of talk to them about the next step. So yes, you're trying to appeal to that audience. Have you done a paint and sip? So you would be, your buyer persona would be somebody that's actually done, as you've just said there, they've already done a paint and sip. They might have had the odd class, but they now actually want to actually develop it further. Yeah. So what does that person typically look like? You know, they probably have a full-time job. They could be retired, but you might want your ideal one to start with this and just say that they're at work, so therefore they have that disposable income that they could spend on art classes. How much would they want to spend? That would help you price it. What are they looking for? So how would you make that easy for them? Would you put it in the evenings? You wouldn't want to put your classes during the day because they're probably at work. Could you run one or two during the day? Which days of the week would you run it? That makes you think of all that picture then. So you're not necessarily targeting by age in your case, you're targeting by similar wants and needs.
Yeah, because that's where I just always like, I find I'm just not creative enough in thinking about other people like that.
I think you practice with it. You start to see who your ideal customer is by starting at first and then seeing, like I said, if you had 100 people in if you looked at the demographics of Toowoomba and saw what the main demographics were, if you looked at census information, who would you narrow it down to? If you could bet your money on some that would spend it, who are you going to bet your money on? Look at it that way. Look at the stats of who's there and say, right, I'm going to spend $10. Imagine it's $1,000. And you only can spend it on one or two people, so you really want to be careful how you spend it. Who would be your best bet to spend it, and they're going to spend it and some back with you.
Okay,
that would be it, because it's going to make you really narrow it down. Well, yeah, possibly, but I prefer that one. You know, that would be my ideal. If I could have an ideal client, that would be it.
Okay, right, I will definitely try and think of that a little bit harder.
If you want to do a one-to-one with me, you can always book in and we can have a go at that in face-to-face and try and work it out together.
Yeah, I'll see how I go with this first, and like get some clues first, and then keep going. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask or share or anything? No? Okay, right, let's go on to writing the actual blog. So how do you choose a blog topic? So I know this comes up a lot. People are, you sit there and think, oh my goodness, what am I going to write about? So do you remember I said to you that I use a tool to repurpose content? So what I always do, I'll show you this tool, and then I've got it in here. If anybody wants a copy of this and you're a part of the Digital Solutions program, just let me know and I can send you just this planner. But I use this to come up with topic ideas. And so these are some of the topic ideas that I talk about. So you want to kind of choose a topic that interests you, and you kind of create an outline. Do you remember I said to you, pick some headings and then lay it out in those headings. So it might be the benefits of something, how-tos, frequently asked questions, and you can use this sheet to plan it. So here you can put the themes, edit it for your business. This was me based on shopping centres. Ideally, when you're writing blogs, you want to be, if you can do it, at least once a month, preferably once a week. So anywhere between once a month and once a week, perfect. So if you're just doing 2 a month, and you could do the 2 together. I used to, when I was in an agency, spend a whole day writing multiple clients' blogs all in one go and put 2 up at a go. So you don't have to do it sort of like every fortnight. You can just do that and put 2 topics up, because you remember you're adding content for Google, really. So it doesn't matter if they go up at the same time. Or you can spread them out and put them up fortnightly, whichever works for you. So you want to, with this, there's just a note in here that your website content should have at ideally 500 words per page. And then you put your blog ideas in. So ideally a blog post includes about 1,000 words. So you would want to write, or more. And you want to be writing that content. We'll go more in this in a moment. But the way you get this subject here is you look at ideas like this. So you kind of theme it. So if I was an air conditioning company right now, we've had a lot of rain. It's been quite humid. I'd probably be thinking, and I'd plan this 3 months in advance. So I would say try and stay 3 months ahead of yourself. I'd be sitting there thinking, okay, when I'm in November, what's coming up? Well, we're going to get January sales, then we're going to get it's going to be humid over December and January. So probably my November topics will be how to stay cool in summer, the new air conditioners that are out, how to service your air conditioning, and how to use the dehumidify session. Can't get the words out. How to use the dehumidifier on your air conditioning unit to cool your house, but also dry your house at the same time. And they might be topics that I talk about. So then you'd go into more detail. So you'd pick your keywords that would go through that, and then you'd write your blog topic. How you repurpose it is then you take the same content and you put it onto your Google My Business as a post, you shorten it and put it on there. You then take your same content and you turn it into social media posts, and then you can turn it into a new newsletter. And hey presto, before you know it, you're in all these different places, so you've got more books on your shelf. It's that simple. And you're just writing one piece of content and transforming it, so it's repurposing it. So they're all the kind of things I suggest. If you're not sure what topics to choose, you can use a content ideas generator. HubSpot have an ideas generator. That's HubSpot, as in HUBSPOT. You can put in like the noun, like the name of something, like a shoe, dress, sister, Albert Einstein, whatever it may be, and it will come up with ideas for your topics you could talk about. And once you've got your topic, then you can choose an angle. So so it could be like this, the benefits of that topic, do it like that. Then let me just go back onto here. So then when you've done that, you might want to outline it. So you want to plan out your posts. So we talked about that earlier. You're going to have an introduction. You're going to have your header. You're going to have an introduction. You're going to have your section 1 that might outline any research that you've done. Section 2 might be tips. Section 3 could be techniques, things to watch out for, common mistakes. And then section 4 might be a conclusion. And you can do your research and check the facts on the whole information that you're doing. So once you've set one up once, it's really easy, because you just go over the top of them again. And actually on my planner, if I've actually put together this. So it shows you that, the title, the meta description, any URLs that you put in there, your body text, your H1 header text and things like that. I've got this, it's from a company called SEMrush. They're really good for their content and their search engine optimization. It's just an infographic I grabbed from there. So again, if anybody wants any of this, you can just email me. I'll give you my email address at the end, and you just email me and I'll send it through to you. So we've chosen our topic, and now we need to craft a headline. So with this, we want to, yeah, okay, Erica, I'll just give you my email address now in case anybody needs it. So it's Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, at businessstation.com.au. So if you send me an email, I will send through those details to you. So what you want to do is you want to craft a headline, and the headline needs to be informative. It's got to capture the reader's attention. So when you want to create interest with your blog post. So you want to create emotion, you want to create that need, that curiosity to read more into your blog post. You want to make it as irresistible as possible, because as I say, 60% of people don't read past that headline. So be aware of that. Be creative. So use like numbers. You can do, you know, the 5 top tips or how-tos or what is. Use your keyword research for this, for search engine optimization. You've got tips, you know, make the value clear, use strong trigger words that might help you. You know, even things like, you know, you see it, how to get red wine out of a shirt, a white shirt, something like that, you know, something that will trigger you and think, oh gosh, yeah, I could never get those stains out, that kind of thing. And so some examples of that might be things like asking questions. Why do you want to do whatever you want to do? Comparisons, this versus this, which did you need? Intriguing, what no one tells you about, so on. Top tips, so 5 tips for this. Tutorials, how to do X in 3 easy steps. You can do a list, amazing, to try right now. So, you know, there's lots and lots of ways that you can do this. So what we're going to have a look at is the perfect blog post and how to lay it out. So this is a little infographic that I've got here. So you've done your research, you've settled on a headline, or at least you've kind of got a working title, and now you're ready to actually write your blog post. So let's get to it. This kind of makes it easier to stay focused by doing this, because it minimizes the chances that you'll forget crucial points, and it also lets the blog kind of gets it produced a bit quicker. So this is how you lay it out. So you keep your sentences short, and the same for your paragraphs. You don't want too much in one go. SEO prefers short, sharp sentences. When you're writing keywords, always keep, when you're writing for search engine optimization, always keep in mind your keywords. So it's tempting to take as many keywords as possible and optimize them for the text. However, it might lead to a bit of a disorganized content. So pick one main one and then maybe dig deeper into that main keyword phrase. Your primary keyword should be the main focus of the entire article. You can add more keywords, but just be careful that they stay related. More than 1,000 words, your post needs to be, ideally. If you can't write more than 1,000, more than 300, then start with 300 and learn to do it in Word, and it will show you. So do a layout in Word like this, where you've got your headline, you've got your opening images and so on, you've got your subheader, your content, and we're going to, as I said, I've got step by step to do this, so we'll go through this in detail now. You ideally, you know, sometimes you can get your message across in 300 words. So if it takes 300 words, use 300 words. But ideally, you want, they change this all the time, but they're saying now between 1,500 and 2,000 words. But that's a lot. So I always say try and get sort of around the 800 to 1,000 in each one. Use links. I mentioned that earlier. So try and link back to content on your website. Use a call to action as well, and you can do social sharing tools as well on the bottom, as so you encourage people to share. Now, of course, when people share and share and share, then it goes out of context. So that's why you want to make sure it's clear your company details are throughout, and then proofread everything before you put it up. So creating content. So you want basically, they can help add traffic to your website. So you want a meta description, you want a title. So make sure it's unique, it contains your target keywords, and these are the kind of characters they normally suggest. Make sure that it motivates users to go to your website as well, and you want it to trigger an emotion because you want them to read further down. Your meta description is kind of like an advert for what's coming next in the content. It's not necessarily a sentence, but it may include prices, manufacturers. So here's an example, catchy title that you can't help but click. And in this blog post, you will learn how to create content that both search engines people will love. So you kind of want to target an emotion because you're going to make their life easier for them. Then we want to go down and we want to put the website, so written with lower cases, and you want to then use images and what they call H1. You've probably heard of H1, H2, H3 tags. They're basically headers. Header 1, header 2, so there's subject headers here, H2 and H3. What it means is it all helps with search engine optimization. So your header 1 tag may include a how, what, why, where, when, that kind of thing. Engaging headlines that encourages you to read more. Describe what's coming in the text, and then you want header 2 and header 3s down here that correspond to that. You might have a quote, you've got your body text, and this will all take you through, and I've got this on this sheet, so it will come across to you if you want to copy. So kind of things, when you're, just a few things to kind of point out about writing and checking. Always write to your persona, use their voice, their euphemisms, even their humor to construct a piece that resonates with them. Use titles, meta descriptions, and other teasers to compel your audience to read your content. Put the benefit of your content right in the title to let them know why they should be reading this. Why do they want to read on? As I said, remember that 60%. Create something unique. Don't kind of simply regurgitate somebody else's information. Definitely don't plagiarize anything. Try and create something unique. Infuse a unique style or something new of yourself that emphasizes your points of view on something. Stick to one idea and don't use your content, and use your content to reinforce it. Don't kind of confuse your readers by going off on tangents about something else. And then always stay true to your voice. Don't try to impress your audience with expansive vocabulary if they don't speak that way, and nor do you. And be concise and clear. You don't want your audience to relate to you and derive value from your content. You do want your audience to do that. So you need to be clear and concise and not have to sift through jargon or confusing messages. And always check for errors. There's a tool called Grammarly here that you can use. You can plug that into your Google Chrome bar and it will check all of your documents. You can have the paid for version. I use the free version. It's just as good. Now, there is another tool that's worth mentioning at this stage, and it's called Jarvis. You do have to pay for it. It's artificial intelligence. You can basically type into him. Let me show you how he works. So if I, oops, sorry, wrong button there. So if I think it's about $29 a month. You can have a bigger version of that. So if I go into my templates, he's a content improver. So if you write your content here, so you pop something in here. So if I go to my website, and let's just grab some content off of there, and let me just lift that and put it into Jarvis, and you'll see what happens. If I do that and I generate content, he'll only do so many words at a time. You can see 400. So here, he's telling you other ways you could write that. Some work, some don't. So if you've seen something somewhere else and you like the way it's written, but you don't want to plagiarize, you could do that and it will be rewritten for you. So here's a neat tool to use. Okay, so we want to use images, videos, GIFs, infographics, anything that we can that would help improve the flow. So if we've got some images that will show some humor or explain complex topics, use them because they're really popular. Just kind of give them a name because, again, for search engine optimization purposes, Google will pick up on the name that you've given something. So you want to name things. Writing for online is entirely different than writing from print. Oftentimes people simply don't have the time or ability to focus on lengthy blog posts. So without some visual stimulation, it might get a bit boring. So even a well-written article needs to have images in the post. So make sure you do that. They'll help with context. They can help break up the text. Use visual data such as graphs, tables, those kind of things to help too. So I mentioned in some of my workshops, I always mention a few tools that can help you. So you've got from GIFs, infographics, content creation tools that will help you look professional. There's lots of different ways that you can do this. So you've got Canva is one that will help you to create beautiful designs. So if anybody hasn't got Canva, it's totally free. You can go on and claim. You can have the paid for version. The advantages of the paid for version are just that you can put in your branding information and you get access to a few more things, a lot of more templates and photos, that kind of thing. But you don't have to have it. You can start with the free version, see how you get on, and then upgrade if you want to. If you do a lot of social media yourself and you're constantly creating things, then pay for the paid for version. It's worth it for, I think, $16 a month or $150 a year, whatever it is. It's worth it. You'll use it a lot, and then it will store the information and store your branding in there for you. So that's great, and you can customize and download directly to things. If you want to use GIFs in your work, there's a tool called Giphy, Giphy. Giphy so GIFs have basically replaced emojis, I suppose. And so, you know, Giphy allows you to search millions of pre-created GIFs, and you can even create your own in there if you want to. There's a program called Vidyard, Vidyard, Vidyard. It's a video hosting platform, and the software allows you to customize your video by overlaying text and things like that. Vidyard, Vidyard, Vidyard. So then you've got SurveyMonkey. So you can do such things, you know, as creating surveys to check what your customers are actually after, because you need customer feedback. It's crucial to keep your marketing campaigns effective. Don't just assume you know what your customers want. Coca-Cola made that mistake years ago with Pepsi, and Pepsi overtook it. So they changed the flavor of their Coke without checking with their audience, and discovered that actually their audience didn't want it changed. So that kind of thing. And then you've got Anchor, Anchor. It's a podcasting tool for beginners. It's totally free and allows you to record and store unlimited episodes, and you can easily upload to any third-party platform from it. So they might be things that would help with content for you. Okay, so we're going to blog, and I'm going to show you how you lay it out all together. I'm just going to show you, before we do that, what a blog looks like or can look like on websites. So the first, I'm going to show you a couple of examples. So if I show you, let's do this website here. So a blog typically sits up on your menu up here. When you click into it, it's just making sure that you're constantly adding. You just need a little image, little intro, and then you click on the button to read more. These guys, I think they've got a WordPress site. If you, so if I show you with my website, this is where, again, mine sit, my blogs, this is what they look like when you see the front end. And if I show you in the back end, if you've got, this is with a WordPress site, you can set them up as just posts in here. So they would just go in. So if I wanted to create a new one, posts, I just add new and just keep adding blogs. And that's how you do it. It's as simple as that. And you're just adding content to your website. So that's that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what how we actually go through this step by step. So the first slide I'm going to show you is the headline. So what you want to be doing here is making sure that that headline really stands out. So it's got to be attention grabbing. Choose a working title, carry out the keyword research. Now, keyword research, before we go any further, I'm going to show you this neat tool here. It's called Answer the Public. It's a free tool. You don't need the paid version. You can do so many searches a day for free. So if I was, say, artist there, I'm going to put artist in for you, Kat. And oh, just sorry, I forgot to change that. Just make sure that bottom bar you change to Australia. I won't change it now. It's just going to give me UK results instead. But you just want to make sure you change it to Australia. Now, this is what people are searching for in the UK right now on Google for artists. And you can come down and see if there's any keyword phrases in here. It's a great way because you know this is exactly what people are typing into Google. So you've got questions, you've got prepositions, you've got comparisons, you've got alphabetically, and then you've got related searches. So just things like that. They might not be relevant, but you take out of it what you can and you just keep searching for keywords. So that's a neat way to get your keywords. So finalize kind of your information title and get that ready. And then some tips here. So make the value clear, use strong trigger words, how, discover, why, that kind of thing, because you want them to read further on. So, and then you want a meta description. So one of the first things that people see is your meta description. It's a little ad for what's coming next. So, and you want to aim for, this changes as well all the time, anywhere between 130 and 160 characters. So, for example, you could have, that headline might be something like, how many calories does my dog burn on an average walk? Or the 3 best methods for peeling a mango. 6 strategies for deterring burglars. Build your own fire pit, a beginner's guide. Teaching your dog to fetch. You know, canine training 101. You want sort of reasons, ways, tips, secrets, methods, facts. So for a company that's basically a taxi service, Uber manages to slip in some aspirational words in here. So, you know, when they're doing it, that's a good example of how to write and attract more drivers. So Google some recent searches and see what comes up for blogs and topics. Once you've got your headline, you want to look at the first paragraph, so your intro. If you can capture a reader's attention in the opening 3 to 4 lines, they're probably more likely to read your entire article. So if you make it interesting enough, they're going to read it. So a great blog post immediately grabs readers' attention, compelling them to want to read on. So in any kind of writing, the hook is one of the most important parts. This sentence or paragraph is the part that grabs their reader's attention and promises them that the reader will get their curiosity satisfied if they keep reading on. So it might be something like, yes, I'm the mum who accidentally put permanent markers in the birthday party bags. But before that, you let that stain your opinion of me. Let me explain what happened. Well, you'd want to read on, wouldn't you? You want to know who on earth put permanent markers in a kid's birthday and what did happen. Another example could be, and this is a dog example, how frustrating is it to get a dog to let you put a new harness on them? How this wastes precious walking time, how you could waste money on harnesses your dog refuses to wear. So you could kind of see that you'd want to read on to see how you'd stop that. So they're kind of a couple of examples of ways you can write it. Then you go into your subheading. So this is to break up your content a bit. So subheadings will help your content to rank by highlighting to Google the different sections that are covered in your blog. So it shows more information is there. And you can use your headings to organize your content for readers there. Then we're on to our main copy. So then we want to look at the ideal blog post takes about 7 minutes to read, so they say. So, and look here, look, they're saying over 2,500 words, but that is That's full on. So I'm not saying to you guys do that. I'm saying I don't write that many words in mine. So, and I've never written that many words for a client either. So we try and stick to around 1,000 words, something like that. But some of the biggest posts that do rank are that big. So, oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button there. Try and, you know, break it up with some quotes, bullet points, that kind of thing, charts and so on. And, you know, back up the information with stats, make sure that you can verify, give you some credibility. Okay, then we want visual assets. So they say that a picture counts 1,000 words. So readers retain, there you go, 65% of information when they can see visuals. We are very visually orientated. It's actually something that I actually really used to find interesting in shopping centres. I used to call it visual vomit, that the more visuals you added in, the more you didn't want to look or read anything. So actually it can be a negative as well as a positive. So neat, well laid out is actually better if it's good on your eye, because you'll want to read it. Whereas if you put mess and bits all over the place, it's too hard to read. Your eye doesn't want to follow it. So while it's easy to include stock images, try not to. Try to make sure you've got your own photos, videos, graphic work. If you could get a professional in to take some high quality images for you, even perhaps approach your local photography school and see if you can get a student to come in and just pay them a bit on the weekend or something, or see if you can be used as a you know, a training session for the college. That might be worth an option for you. And then you want to finish off with a call to action at the bottom there. Your call to action, you kind of want them to, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to go to your website? Are they going to download something? Sometimes you see that, don't you, as an enticement to read on. You're going to get something free at the end of it, something downloadable. You might just want them to go to the website. Depends on what you want to do. And then the final step is that you want them to share socially. You want to encourage them to do this. So the easier you make it for them, the easier they will share. So just put some buttons down on there so they can share it to social media. And then I couldn't remember if I'd included this, but my repurposing sheet is in here. So when you're doing this, you do actually want to repurpose that. So if I now show you as an example, if I go to, this is a Google My Business profile, and what they have done is they've taken the blogs that are on their website and then they've put them up here as posts. So it's the same. So what you do is you go into the back end of your business profile in Google. You can have more than one. I've got multiple there. And then you just see this button here, posts. So, or you can go there, but posts. And then you just add a new post. So I have got, you can see there's 3 on here at the moment. I just use it for training, but how to put one up. But it's simple as just pressing that button, choosing what you want to do, and dragging in some photos, copying your post in. Now, it will only let you put 1,500 characters in there, so you are going to have to bring that down. It's about 250 words. And then you can add a call to action button, what you want them to do with the link, and publish it. It's as simple as that. But by doing that, you've literally just taken the content you've written in your blog and now put it somewhere else. Now you've put it on Google, which is great, because Google's then going to say, well, I've got this and I've got this and I've got the website. And now if you do your socials from the same content, then you put it up and you write articles out of that. So this is where this sheet comes in really handy, because you've got a way of repurposing everything. What are my social media ideas? And then turning it into an e-newsletter, and you link back to your website. So how does SEO fit with this? Well, I have touched on it a little bit as we've gone through. So a buyer persona will probably have given you some kind of idea as to research when it comes to keyword research, etc. So you basically, your keyword research will show you sort of the search volume of specific keywords. You might find some are too competitive. So for example, if you were a bank, using if you were a mortgage broker, using the word bank is probably going to be too competitive for you, because the big banks are going to be competing for that keyword and wanting to appear in searches whenever they use that. So you might want to go a little bit longer with your keyword phrase, so that what they call long tail keywords, so that you can get something that's more relevant to you and those people that are searching for that. It also narrows down. So write down some questions that your persona might have asked about you. You can use that tool that I mentioned, Answer the Public, and then perhaps do some research around those queries to see if enough people are searching for it. You want to kind of target keywords that are attainable. So you want to make sure that they've got a monthly search volume, MSV. Trying to target high volume keywords so because they're highly competitive, when you start out, it kind of won't pan out for you. So people will promise you with search engine optimization, I see this all the time when I go to networking events, I can promise to get you on page 1 of searches. Yeah, they probably can, but they won't get you on page 1 for what you want to get on page 1. So if your business is mainly selling apples, they might get you on for pears. You don't want to be on for pears, you want to be on for apples. So they got you on the front page of pears, but that's not relevant because it's not very competitive. So that's where I'm going with that. You want to make sure that you are appearing in searches for the right kind of searches, and you do that by constantly giving Google the impression that you have a lot of knowledge about this subject, because he doesn't want to look silly as the chief librarian. He wants to always serve up the right kind of information. And you know how frustrating it is when you do a search and you think, oh no, that's not relevant to me, I didn't want that. Or so when you're doing your Google My Business profile, again, make sure you fit in as much information in there as possible, because it all helps with searching. And that's the reason we're writing content. That's the reason you are blogging. You're adding to your arsenal of information. So I'm just kind of, I suppose, quick sort of down and dirty detour into SEO. I've got a quick explanation here. So you can gain domain authority by how many external sites link back to your content. But in order for this to happen, you need to have a pretty large library of content that's valuable enough to cite. So that means the longer you write high quality content, the higher your domain authority and the easier it is to rank for highly competitive keywords. That's what you want. So if you're not quite there, the best thing to do is to target, as I said, those long tail keywords. This will give you the best chance of ranking for keywords and getting more content in front of more people. And if you want to understand more about search engine optimization, do a course in it. There's a brilliant website that you can follow. HubSpot have an academy, and they do some great training on how to do keywords and where to do. If you sign into your Google My Business profile, you can do keyword research in there, and it will tell you the value and the search and how competitive a keyword is. Because if you're going to be doing advertising as well, you want to know how much people are going to pay for things too. Okay. Does anybody want to have a go at writing a blog, or would you rather do that in your spare time and we move on? I don't want to take up anybody's time unnecessarily, but if you want to have a go and you want to pass it by me, we can do that. Or have a go at writing a blog outside of this and send it to me in an email as part of the scheme, and we can have a look at them, and I'll just let you know how you're going. So I think that's probably the general consensus I'm getting. We'll move on and I'll just show you some blog topics.
I ask more about the actual appearance of blogs, because I saw in one of the ones that you showed that it was kind of contemporary. So I think that is one of the things. So I'm in the world of procurement and tendering, which is quite boring in itself. So, but I kind of like the I like to explore actually the visual side of it a bit more. So is there any kind of layout, contemporary layouts that one can look at as an example, for instance?
So this is an air conditioning company up on my screen. This is a layout of one of them. So what I'll do is I'll just show you a couple of them that I have prepared. This is a company, so when I worked in an agency, these were one of my clients. So if I go onto the website, now I used to write their blogs for them. I haven't written them for a fair few months now, but this is the kind of style that they use. So you can imagine high profile modelings are not going to have a huge amount of interest for Joe Public, but this is the way that we used to lay theirs out. So you just have a simple image. You can do that in Canva. So you can create yourself a nice blog image that's always the same size every time and just do something. If you want to put your logo on it, put it on it, because as I said to you, you don't know where it's going to be shared. And I don't know if they still do it, but when you read more, I would be including links back to, so when you come in here, yeah, so let's see, they've got a social sharing button there, so you can share it. And I would be including links. Yeah, they have, look, visit our website, Discover House Sunhoods, there's a link there. So that's the kind of thing. I'd probably put a couple more in than that. So how to lay them out, that would be a good example as to how to lay them out. So I'm not suggesting that's the right way of writing your content. I don't know who's written that and I haven't read it, but that's one. If I show you, we had it here. So this is an air conditioning company. You can see it's in a very similar format as to how they lay those out. With mine, I do them in a similar way. Let's go to here and show you again. So I go into the blog page. See, now the style is the same, but it depends on the imagery you use. But the style is the same, except that I have this nice big visible headline. I put who's written it, and I put more of the text in a different style. But it's the way you do the images and what you put up that makes it modern or not. Does that answer your question, Celia?
Yeah, no, it's because if you click on one of those blog posts of yours, just out of curiosity, just so you've put a kind of a rounded.
Yes.
Okay. The one that says understanding SEO, is that your keyword or your tag?
So I've got it as my keyword. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got SEO as my keyword. SEO trends. There's various. It's talking about SEO, so there's various in there. So SEO trends and SEO trends small business. Those kind of are in there. Understanding SEO there. That is the actual keyword that I've used for it. So mine's done slightly differently, and then you can see the way you can read other articles on it too. Let me just go back with.
But it is a fairly standard kind of block layout. It's written.
It is. If I go on to, actually come off of mine for a minute and let's go on to HubSpot's website. Because these are one of the main guys that write. So if
probably education.
So they've got it in the same way. They've got a large image and then they've got a header. They're not actually giving you an intro in any of theirs. So, and they've laid theirs out on a page like this. So that possibly everybody does it slightly differently. But I would say that they've all got the image and they've all got the header. I actually like it. See, it's saying it's a 15-minute read. You click on it and then it takes you through and you've got all of these with lots of links. This is quite a large way to, this is a larger organization to write blog topics for. So they have a lot of information. A 15-minute read, that's a lot. We're saying 7 minutes max, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, but these guys are lecturing in it. They're trying to teach you how to do this. They do actually have blog topics, but buyer personas have become so. These guys are constantly. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Another guy who Let's go to him, because this is another, I want to see how he, blog, it's at the bottom there. He does it that way, but again, they've all got an image followed by the header. So
Yeah.
yes, I would definitely say that's what you want to be doing.
I've used the excerpts for mine because I find then you kind of have to focus a bit on that same principle about people read just the title and the first few lines.
Yes.
I've added the excerpts is actually quite crisper, if you want to call it that. But yeah, so it's just whether the layout, whether the old page layout is still in the actual blog, whether that is still the best way to do it.
So that's a video. He's got video content there. Let's look at this one. See how they lay it out. He's got it laid out more of a page style. So it just goes to a page on his website. I have these guys, it does look like a page on their site. You can have that kind of information. It will say related posts as well. I think it's whatever, the reason you're writing your blog is not necessarily for people to actually go on there and pick up your blog content. It's for Google. So as long as the content's there and it's hidden behind, because I know people that have written blogs and actually not had it on display. So you can't actually see their blogs, but it could come up in content search somewhere. So, it's, as long as it fits in with your style, that's all that's important. Okay, so finally, the thing that we want to go back to are results. So that was just showing you an example of what blogs can look like. And then we'll go on to results. So you can measure how well your blogs are performing by looking at page views. So the number of users that visit your content. So you can have a look at organic traffic that comes from search engines. You can have a look at your bounce rates if people are going on to a blog and not reading it and coming back off again. But again, don't take too much notice of that, because you're actually doing it partly for Google. So I actually don't put blogs up there for customers to read. I put it up there so Google knows I offer it as a service. So that's what I'm trying to show you how to do. Conversion rates is another one. So they're call to action, etc. What you're asking them to do they click on the button and go through? Engagement rates, the number of people that interact with your content through likes, shares, comments, etc. And then audience growth, the new subscribers or leads that are generated from a piece of content. So there's lots of ways you can measure it, and you should measure it. So you can go into your analytics on your website. If you have a WordPress site, there is a new tool called Google Site Kit. Google only do it for WordPress, which tells you something about WordPress as a power of a website design. And you can build it into your WordPress site and read the analytics from there and see what people are doing and saying about you. Okay, so that's it from me, because that's blogging in a nutshell. Is there anything I can answer specific questions for?
I've got a quick little question, just going over some of the concepts about blogging. I have put a couple of blog posts on a website that I had made, but I'm in the process of getting that entire website rebuilt. Is it worth, like, I actually have a lot of ideas for content. It's just a case of breaking it all down and basically, like, I've written 10,000 word essay basically in Word.
Yes.
So I can break that into subjects and components and stuff like that, add images and use that to build blog content.
Yes.
Is it worth, since I'm totally redesigning my website, is it worth just sort of like doing an initial dump of like 4 blog posts or something like that? So when the new site is up, it's not like, oh, there's one blog post, like have a dump of them to start off with.
Yeah, and never remove the blogs from your history either.
Okay.
Because you want, so on a website, if you have events, say, don't delete them from your website. Let them sit in the back end. Just put them as completed or finished, or you know an end date on them. Never remove it, because the history helps with your search engine optimization as well. So yes, I would do that. I would definitely put up as many. As I said, when I was doing the blogs for HPAM, high profile moldings, and Asset Econ and people like that, I would actually put their posts up at the same time, so two in a go. It was about the content, having the content on your site.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily about putting up one a fortnight and people knowing that there's another one. It's not like an e-newsletter where people see it come into their inbox. You're about adding content, so it's just about adding another chapter to your bookshelf, basically.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So do that. Yeah, put 4 up and put them on your Google My Business profile, and get a load of social media posts done. Get that repurposing going. Just how can I
sort of haven't done I had a website built more as a hobby thing, and then once I've started to try and make things more professional, I didn't really advertise it as such. So I've sort of thought, no, I want to restructure everything, get it all done before I actually actively promote it.
What are you building it in?
It's a WordPress site.
Fantastic.
So, but I'm having someone else build it, but I will have the capability of updating and controlling stuff. So I don't always need to go through my web developer.
No.
I want him to build the scaffolding so that I know how to put photos and stuff up as I need to go.
Yes, and you can also use several of us, like I use WordPress. My site's all built in WordPress. There's various other advisors that are trained in WordPress. So you can always ask us as part of the scheme. Sit in workshops. There's a WordPress workshop, I think, on here too. I'm pretty sure Dante does one. So you can learn, and they do pretty good. If I'm doing something and I'm not quite sure how to do it, I can just search on it, and it will usually bring it up for me. So it's, you're constantly improving your skills. So definitely, I would learn to do things that way. Absolutely. It is that's the whole purpose of this scheme. It is to empower you, not necessarily to do it yourselves, but to have the knowledge to understand how it should be done. So that you don't, when you go out into the world of digital, you have that confidence to buy it properly, know what you're buying, what you're getting for your money. So I see that when I go, as I said, networking events. I saw a client the other day who had paid $750 for SEO, and her website was shockingly bad in the back end. So I don't know what they're actually doing for their SEO. So by me just showing her how to look at that in the back end and show you how you can read your results and how your traffic light system should work and how you can just improve it, you then have the power to go to that person and say, hey, why is this not working? What's wrong with this? What is SEO? So you understand. That's why I always use the analogy of Google being like a librarian, because basically that's what he is. So yeah.
Okay.
Good. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Was it just my experience, or is it a more common experience that website developers are not often familiar with SEO? Because I know when I initially set my website up, they actually build the building blocks, but they didn't even have the old Yoast plugin in there, or SEO, anything about SEO. So it looked pretty, but it was fairly unlibrarian.
You know why they don't want to do it is because it's actually a little bit time consuming. So when you go in, they will tell you, by just empowering yourself to know what SEO is. So now you know to just look at it like the librarian, and the more content you've got in your shelf, the more Google's going to put you up. Then how do I get that content there? So how do I tell Google, I do this, and keep telling him, I do this. And you have to keep telling him because he forgets. So you've got to keep telling him. He's a forgetful librarian. So you've got to keep telling him. And if you can do that by constantly checking in the back end of your website, checking each page, each image on your website is named and it has a name. As I said, pretend that Google's blind and you've got to describe everything to him. So name everything, every image, every video, every header that you put on there, every mess description, everything is named, and at the description, so that when he's reading that, he's like, oh, and then make sure that there's a link on every page. So if you've got a page like I have on content writing, and then you've got a page on branding, then, and I try and mention branding in your content so that you go across to the branding page, and then you mention marketing and you go across to the marketing page, and you mention digital and you go to the digital page. You only have to do it 2 or 3 times on each page for Google to go, oh, wow, these guys have got lots of content. That's how you do it. And then Google will tell you if you're doing, Yoast will tell you if you're doing a good job. It will give you the green traffic light system. So green, you're amazing. Sometimes you don't need to change it. You know, like I'm not going to add content for the sake of content into my site because I'm not avidly promoting it. If I was actually looking to definitely advertise my services, then I would probably write a lot more content to go into my site. So making sure I'm using those keywords.
So by doing that link between pages, essentially, that would actually be almost beneficial by doing a few blog posts simultaneously, because you can create all those links at the same time.
Yep, absolutely.
And so you've got links embedded within each page that refer to each other.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
What you're doing is telling Google electronically that you have got, if you're jumping across somewhere else, that you have more content, and that good job, you've got, it will come up and it will show you on there. It will say, good work, you've got loads of off-page and internal links as well on page.
I'm just getting my head around that. Like, I'm starting to look at all of that on the website that I already have. Yeah. And like when it brings up the hints about, oh, you could do this to make your page better. And I'm learning what that actually means.
And it's the same for all of us, because they bring in new digital space moves so quickly. So whilst I can sit here and tell you of all the experience that I've got, it's like TikTok came in after I started. So I've had to learn to use TikTok. Those kind of things, I just, anything that comes out, I think, what is this for? What's the typical demographic? Do a little bit about it, and then just, do I need it? What is it for? So you might not need it, like it's for a younger demographic, so I wouldn't need it, but I need to understand it in case I've got a client that needs to talk about it. So just do that. And SEO, I think, is one of the most confusing subjects out there that people think is way beyond anything, and it's not really. It is just seeing Google as a librarian, and he's just the one that's going to hand out the information all the time, because 93% of searches are done with Google. So if you can remember that, you're trying to just make sure Google has all of your information. That's all you're doing.
Okay. There
are other things to it, don't get me wrong. There's things like backlinks and directories and things like that. That's all the off-page stuff. And that is where you probably do need someone that's a search engine specialist. But you can also get those people if you understand enough about it and you learn. And HubSpot has an academy. If you can't get the skills through what we're doing and you want to learn more about it, then go off and do that kind of thing through someone like that, or get an agency involved. I just warn you that agencies will charge for that, because it's quite it's like a monotonous, no one wants to do kind of job. So
all right, no, good to know. Yeah. It's quite funny. I just want to be an artist, but there's so much more to learn about being a business person.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. It's like me with creativity. I've come from a very creative background, and I actually do art as well at home. But where it's constantly changing. I didn't realize I loved digital as much as I do until I started doing this program, and then I realized I know as much as I know, and it kind of goes from there. So Is there anything else I can help anybody with about marketing in general? Is there anything anybody has any questions for?
Yeah, what platform would you recommend to design the actual blog, like in the first place?
So you can just type it into a Word document, and then you just put your photos up. So if I come off and go back into mine, if I am in the back end here and I want to add a new one, then I would just do that, add new. And then I can add the photo, and I can add the content. I can give it a post. So give it a title, and then just upload. So it depends. You can see it's got no SEO on it. So you would add some SEO into there. and then just publish it. So it depends on what your website system is in the first place. When I used to write them for clients, what I would do is I would actually put together, let me stop sharing for a second and see if I can find you something that I can show a layout for. See, I would take that.
If you have the Yoast plugin, I find it's actually easier to write it in WordPress because it it reminds you it reminds you that there's too many passive voice. It reminds you about the literacy level. It reminds you about, you know, too much keyword or not enough keyword, whether it's in the heading. So Yoast is really actually I've got the paid version of Yoast, but even the simple version of Yoast can actually help quite a lot with the SEO and the system structure, basically.
Yes, it is a brilliant, Yoast is very good. I'm just trying to see if I can show you when, I haven't got an example I can show you, I don't think, from my agency days, but what I would lay it out was, you know, like I showed you the template. Let me go back into this and share my screen. So if you wanted to lay something out in template format like this, where you've got the title, so you've got your title, you've got your meta description, you've got your URL, you've got your images, you've got your headers and so on, and you just lay something out like this, then once you've got it saved in Word, you can type it into there and then you can copy it across. Either way, it will still pick up your SEO and tell you what you're doing right and wrong with it.
Okay.
Whatever works best for you, really. You'd have to see. Have you got a WordPress site?
Well, no. And yeah, we're trying to probably go through LinkedIn as well and advertise through there. Yeah, we've actually got someone else who handles our website, so I'd have to try and get access to it.
Yeah. So what kind of website have you got?
I can't even tell you what the back end is because I don't really sign into it.
You should be, if it's your business.
It's not actually, I work for the business.
Oh, okay. Just make sure whoever's looking after it, that you just learn a bit about it. Don't, you know, because I've seen this where people don't have control of their websites or their Google My Business profiles, and things go wrong, and then they move on, and then they can't get into things. So I always, when I have my clients, I always tell them, set yourself up, like with your hosting, you go and take out the hosting, here's where you get it from, I'll sit beside you and do it if you want, but you take it out and you keep the details of how to log in. Now you might have to give those details to a web developer to make you go live, but then you can change your password afterwards, or you just give them admin rights to get in. You don't ever give over your management rights to anything. No social media, no nothing. You just put people in as admins.
Okay.
Yeah, all the time. So if you have given it away, get back in charge of it. And then if I go back into my website here, you can have users. You see there, users. So I could then grant access to people. So, but I still remain in charge. So if I then suddenly want to cancel them as users, I can.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I've just seen it too many times. The other thing is if you are working with an agency, is you set yourself up with a Google Gmail and you use that for all things to do with the company. And then so you know you've got your Gmail, not personal email addresses, because then it stays with the company. So you might set yourself up with, like mine might be m4marketing@gmail.com. And then I would actually just set that up with everybody and say, right, that's the Gmail I want you to use. So to set me up with everything. And then you tell everybody in your organization, this is where I'm saving stuff. You can lock Excel worksheets if you use Excel. You could put it in, you know, other note forms to save these documents, so people always have access to it, and have a password protect so that you know what your passwords are to get into these things. And again, kind of have like a structure that you, not too hard to break, but again, with structures, we would do something like, you can write a sentence out as a password. So your password doesn't have to be, there are lots of digits and capitals and all those kind of things. It might be, we make birthday cards, and then just put a date on the end, something like that.
It's a lot easier to remember, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And they teach you to do that. You can put spaces in as characters too. So now I'm always taught to write a sentence. So for things. So this is my bank account. This is Sarah's bank account. This is, you know, those kind of things.
Don't tell us that part.
Yeah. I don't use that, but I'm just, it's what you could do though. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Okay. Can I help with anything else?
Just a quick question. Someone was mentioning software or something, Yoast, or?
Yes. So Yoast is
what
a
is
plugin.
it?
So it's a plugin here. So if I click on here, I'll show you. So I've got a WordPress site, and it's a free plugin that you can get. I haven't upgraded to the premium version, but you can do. If I was actually just running my business as an agency, then I probably would use the premium version. But because I just do it as a hobby on the side, and build websites as a hobby, you know, it's not probably worth it for me to have it. But you can just have the free version. We always build the free versions into any websites that we build, and then let people have control from that point of view. And SiteKit was the other one that I build in. So you can, SiteKit, that's for Google, but it only works with WordPress. So if you, with Yoast, what happens is if I go on the pages in my website, you'll see it operates on a traffic light system here. So these pages, like, that's not published, so it's not working on that. Let's pick, if I go into my About Me page, and I go, just wait for it to load for a second.
Oh, down the bottom of the page there.
Yes, it's going to move in a minute, so I'm hesitating showing you. So it always comes down the bottom, and it will show you, so your score and your readability. So what you can do is you can just come down here and analyze it, and you can see what your problems are. So key phrase, you're linking to another page with the words you want this page to rank for. Don't do that. So that's what it's telling me off. So it will tell you what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just good to know about other little bits of software. Whether or not I'll use them, I don't know yet, but
yeah.
Hey, at least if I know they're out there, I can have a look at them and make that judgment.
Absolutely. There are so many. I do a top 10 tools a workshop that I did this morning, and there's so many tools out there to show people how to use them that are free. Text length as well. It's telling me that I ideally want 300 and I've only got 291 words, so add a little bit more content. Key phrase in title does not contain the exact match, so it wants me to put the exact match in. So it tells you exactly what it wants you to do. And then with my green, that outbound links, great job, image key phrases, nice work. So if I actually link on my keyword phrases, it's going to talk to you about what is anchor text and how to improve it, you know, that kind of thing. What does anchor text look like? It just takes you straight here and tells you how to do it and what it is. Okay. So that's really handy.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. And it's a free plugin. You just plug it in. So if you go to, if I want to go to, where's it gone? That's in here.
So I just go to go to the Yoast and download the plugin.
Yes. Or ask your web team to do it. So look here, I'm on Google SiteKit. You would just say install SiteKit.
Excellent. Fabulous.
But it will only do it for Word. It's only for WordPress.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what currently using. So that's why I was like, okay, what is this?
Yeah. And then it helps you understand that directly on your WordPress dashboard, exactly everything. So it's great. So it goes straight in. So that's a really neat one. Okay.
I can talk to my developer and ask whether he uses something like it, or
he might not necessarily know about it because it's a fairly new thing to come out. Hopefully he will. The difference between this and analytics is that with Google Analytics, what they have to do is they have to put a piece of code on each page. So in order to read your analytics, they're going to have to put a Google code onto each page, and then it goes back into your analytics. Why bother? You can just put SiteKit in and get the same results. So there's my Google Analytics for my website, which I have to go in. But in order to do this, when we built it, we had to put code on each page. The other way around is you don't bother with that. You just put SiteKit in, and SiteKit is already built into Google, because it's Google. It just builds straight into the website, and it links to all the pages. It automatically does that.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's it from me. I've just, if anybody hasn't signed up, there's a screenshot of just scan the code. If anybody wants any more information, there's my email address, sarah@businessstation.com.au, and if anybody wants me to send them through the name of the software, yes, it was Yoast. It's YEOST. It's got an E in it. YEOST. It's Yeost.
Okay.
And yeah. And yeah, if anybody hasn't registered, and maybe I will see you on another workshop.
Lovely.
This one will run again, and it will be recorded, and posted up, so sent to you as a recording.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good luck with everything.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.